Hello, everybody, and either welcome or welcome back to the Gender Libertarian Podcast. If you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Since I spent the last episode talking about the El Paso shooting, I wanted to go ahead and start this episode with talking about the Dayton shooting. And that happened, the El Paso shooting happened last Saturday, the Dayton shooting happened last Sunday. And I didn't discuss it in the last episode because mainly I wanted to discuss the El Paso shooting by itself and the manifesto that the shooter left. And also there wasn't a lot of information on the Dayton shooting aside from like the specifics of body count and stuff like that. And to be completely honest, there's still a lot of questions about the Dayton shooting, but it was done by a guy named Connor Betts. 9 people were killed, including his sister, which is a very weird thing to me. But anyway, it seems like from everything that I've heard, this kind of went down the way you would want reaction to a mass shooting to go down, like on the ground. He went to a very popular nightlife area where there was already a heavy security presence, and he was killed. He was killed in the attack in under a minute. And that is to say that, even still in under a minute, he was able to kill 9 people, but he was neutralized incredibly quickly by both, like I said, security that was already on the scene. I heard reports that actual bystanders grabbed the gun out of his hand. So it could have been a hell of a lot worse. Thankfully, it wasn't. Not to say that 9 people dead is great or wonderful or anything, but it most certainly could have been worse because reports that I've seen, he showed up in body armor, he had on ear protection, he had extra magazines on him, he was going in to kill a lot of people. And it seems like the apparatuses and the systems that were in place to stop such a thing from happening did actually work the way they're supposed to. So at least there's that. Now, as far as motive is concerned, there's still, the jury's out. He didn't leave behind anything, no manifesto, no letter, no anything like that kind of lays out exactly why he did what he did. So everybody's kind of relying on trying to kind of ad hoc put this together. And the only thing that we really have to go on are his social media accounts, where he did post a lot of Antifa support sorts of things. He was a big Elizabeth Warren fan. He did at one point, I think it was back in 2018, make a tweet about kill all fascists. You know how the Antifa types tweet, just the kind of bullshit that they tweet. So a lot of people are just going off the assumption that he's a leftist and that's why he did this. And I want to try to make something clear. It's just because this guy was a leftist, was an Antifa supporter, it seems, was an Elizabeth Warren supporter, that's not motive the way that we know what the El Paso shooter's motive was, because he left a manifesto. He said what his motives were, and the El Paso shooter is still alive. He is in police custody, so we will have a more detailed accounting of what's going on when this investigation shakes out. As far as the El Paso shooting is concerned, I'm sure there will be a trial and there will be more information then. I'm sure the police will release statements and stuff like that. So it's really kind of a tale of 2 different mass shootings where one, it's abundantly clear why it happened, and the other one, we don't really know. And there's been a lot of, I think, bad faith kind of trying to ascribe motive to the Dayton shooter that, like I said, we don't know. And the thing that kind of weirds me out about the whole thing is that his sister is one of the victims. And that's either that is the hugest coincidence of life, or there's something else going on here. I can't see, like I said, that would just have to be the biggest coincidence of life, that he would show up someplace where his sister happened to be, and that she happened to be one of the victims. I think there's something else going on there. I think if we ever do end up finding out what the motive is, I think there's going to be something other than politics involved in that particular shooting. But as it stands right now, everybody wants to make everything political. So, like I said, everybody's going off of what was on his social media accounts, which have been scrubbed, so you can't really go back and verify for yourself what was and was not posted. And, I mean, I understand, I get it, it's all we have to go on. But I'm not entirely comfortable with just saying, oh, it's because he's a leftist or he's an Antifa supporter. Like, that's not motive for me. Like, I need to know, like, what specifically made you go on this night to this place and shoot it up? Like, I can't really deal with ambiguity very well. And this is just so ambiguous. But again, this speaks to something that I think we've gotten a lot too used to, and that is the idea that when these mass shootings happen, that the shooter does leave something behind that tells you why they did what they did. And this is one where, I mean, we may never know. I mean, we may never really know the true reason why this guy decided to do this thing. And it's very unsettling. And I find that a lot more unsettling than the El Paso shooting, because at least that's something that you can deal with. Like, you understand, you can read the manifesto, you can comprehend the ideology behind it, you kind of know where your arguments need to be to fight the ideology that led to that shooting. And like I said in the last episode, I think it is very important to understand why somebody performs a mass shooting. Like, you can talk about guns all day, you could talk about mental health all day, and I think mental health is a component of this, and probably going to be a little beyond the scope of this episode. I'll probably cover it next episode, but a lot of the red flag laws that are being proposed, I'm not comfortable with for many, many, many reasons. But that's not to say that I don't think that mental health shouldn't be a part of this conversation. But absent an actual, like, clear motive for the Dayton shooting, I don't really know what else to say about it. You know, like, I don't know. I mean, was it based off of Antifa ideology? I don't know. I mean, I guess you could assume, but I'm not entirely comfortable assuming that, especially when there are facts and evidence that make me think that there might be something else going on here. So I wanted to go ahead and address that, because I didn't in the last episode, and I already explained why. But a thing that has happened since the two shootings did happen so close to each other is people conflating the two. And I don't think that's a good idea. I think they need to be looked at and studied as two separate incidents and not just kind of lumped in together because they happened back to back. Because I don't think that the motivations for each shooting were similar or identical, or maybe not even political. Like, obviously the El Paso one was. I don't know if the Dayton one was. So the FBI has opened up an investigation on the Dayton shooting based off of some of the things that were reported on social media and some of the things that were said. So maybe there will be more information to come out of that as far as maybe trying to figure out a motive. But until then, I don't really know what else to say about the Dayton shooting other than, yeah, I mean, it's horrible. It's tragic. I hate that it happened. But without knowing a why, I don't really know what else to discuss. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to tackle that or to try to contribute to a conversation of making sure that that particular thing doesn't happen again. So anyway, that's where I'm at on the Dayton shooting. Moving on to some of the reactions that have been trickling in over this past week, because like I said, both of these shootings did happen over the weekend, and obviously there was a lot of reaction, there was a lot of discussion over the weekend, but the work week being what it is, and obviously Monday through Friday is really when the news people talk about the things, and oh my god, it's been depressing to me to watch people react to this, especially in conflating the two shootings and in watching people defend the rhetoric that led to the El Paso shooting. And I discussed this in the last episode when I was talking about the El Paso shooting, and you can go back and listen to it because I do go a little more in depth into it. But so much of what's in that manifesto could have been ripped from so many people's, either their monologues, their blog posts, their Twitter feeds. So much of it constitutes what has become mainstream conservative thought and talking points. And I was hoping, like, I know this is the optimist in me. I know you don't have to tell me, but I was hoping that with a body count that high, that somebody would stop and take a deep breath and be like, you know what? Maybe we need to tone it down. Like, this, obviously, this is hitting certain people in a way in where they're using our words to go commit mass murder. Maybe we should stop and think about the things that we say, and think that there are people that hear the words that we say and may take them in a way that we may or may not mean them. No, that didn't happen. In fact, the opposite happened. Everybody doubled down on their particular positions, which is really what I should have expected to happen in the first place. I know. I always hope that maybe one day, but this week was not that day. And I mean, you had people going on Fox News and in conservative media in general justifying the use of the words invader and invasion, which appeared prominently in the manifesto. You had people just basically doubling down and just ratcheting up the rhetoric, and just even people on the left, like calling for people that support Trump to be eradicated, that everybody that supports Trump is a racist, bigot, xenophobe, awful human being. And it's just like, guys, stop. This is not helping. This is not healthy. This is not creating an environment where these sorts of violent acts are going to be less likely to happen. It's creating an environment where these events are more likely to happen. And I'm just wondering, like, when's it going to stop? Like, how many bodies have to be attached to this before somebody stops and says, this is insane. We have to stop doing this. We have to stop fear-mongering over immigration and over replacement theory and over automation and over just everything. And even on the left, just fear-mongering over capitalism and corporations. And it's just, stop. Everybody, breathe. Stop. Settle down. Like, y'all need to calm down. But maybe in the near future? I doubt it, though. But one thing that did happen that was rather interesting, and I'll start with the disgusting part, and we'll move to the interesting part. Tucker Carlson, for his part, it was Tuesday's monologue, I do believe, where he said that white supremacy doesn't actually exist. It's a hoax. It's made up by the left-wing media to sow division in the United States, which obviously created a massive backlash on the internet. And I mean, you can't say that white supremacy doesn't exist. I mean, you have people that point blank identify themselves as white supremacists. You have people out there saying the 14 words. I mean, yes, it exists. How much of a threat you want to view it as, that's up to you. And whether you want to view it as more or less of a threat than far left, like Antifa violence, again, that's up to you. But to say that it's all like some made up hoax, like, that's fucking stupid. Like, it's not. It exists, and there's no point in denying that it exists. Just because it's your side. Don't pretend like there aren't shitty people on your side. Like, there's shitty people on every side. And yeah, like, there's nothing wrong with calling out people. But what ended up happening is this morning, it was reported that Tucker Carlson will not be on tonight, on Thursday. I'm recording this on the 8th. So tonight, he will not be on. Friday night, the 9th, I guess, I'm not sure if he's going to be on. Like, they've got some kind of special investigation episode. I'm not entirely sure if he'll be on air. And then next week, he will be on vacation fishing with his son. Now, let me explain in case you don't really understand how Fox News gets down with this. they never actually suspend anybody. Like, they never use that word. What ends up happening, and this has happened to Laura Ingraham a couple times, I think it's happened to Hannity a couple times, I remember it happened to O'Reilly a couple of times, there's been a couple of other on-air talents that have had this particular treatment handed down, which is that after on-air talent says something particularly controversial, all of a sudden they take a few days off, or they go on vacation, which is kind of like code speak for they just got suspended. But Fox News never uses that word. And it's a funny way of threading the needle that they do. And it's kind of brilliant because it gives them the ability to publicly present that, okay, this person is being punished, but it's being done in a way to where that person's fan base isn't going to be pissed at them about it. Like, they're not going to be like, oh my god, I can't believe fucking Fox News and how they suspended Tucker Carlson for saying that white supremacy is a hoax. Like, they're doing it in a way where the fan base isn't going to get pissed off. But you still have the effect of taking that person off the air for however long that they determine that that person needs to be off air. In this particular case, apparently it's going to be a week for Tucker Carlson. So at least somebody is paying some kind of price for overheated rhetoric. So far, he's the only one, but it's something, I think. And it's interesting that that was the thing that triggered it. Like, not to say that, obviously, that is a controversial thing to say that white supremacy doesn't exist, but Tucker Carlson has said a hell of a lot worse and been on the air the next day, so I'm curious. I'm very curious about this. Like, that, I don't know where to go with that. That's very interesting. So we shall see what happens. We shall see what happens when Tucker comes back after his week-long fishing expedition in the woods with his son. That's actually a suspension, but we don't call it that. But moving on from that to another reaction / fallout from the El Paso shooting that is moderately more concerning. And that is the fact that CloudFlare did decide to revoke 8chan's DDoS service, which DDoS is a distributed denial of service attack. And really what CloudFlare does, like, CloudFlare is a web host, but really what they're known for, really the thing that they really do, is their DDoS protection. So by revoking that from the 8chan site, that basically leaves them open to attack, which basically at this point means that 8chan does not exist. So CloudFlare did that, and let me give the standard libertarian response to this. Yes, CloudFlare has every legal and ethical right to provide their services to whoever they do and do not wish to do. That's their business. However, that does not mean that we cannot criticize them for their decisions to deny service to certain people. And even in CloudFlare's kind of response / public statement as to why they decided to revoke their protection from 8chan, they point blank said that this really isn't going to stop anything. Like, there will be another 8chan, they will go somewhere else. This really isn't doing anything other than just kind of window dressing, and they're right. And like I said, CloudFlare can do whatever the hell they want to do. It's their business. If they don't want to take the heat for providing protection to 8chan anymore, like, I get it. And the last time they did this was when they kicked off Daily Stormer, and they got a lot of shit for that too. And again, I've discussed that case before, and again, I mean, they can do whatever the hell they want, but there is always blowback to these kinds of decisions. And this one, I don't know what the blowback's going to be, but to CloudFlare's point, and this is something that I did go on more at length in the last episode, and that is the fact that if you're not engaging with the ideology, then you're not doing anything to fix the problem. Like, there's nothing special about 8chan as a site. It's a message board. Like, it's just a standard ass, really like lo-fi message board. The thing that made 8chan were the people on 8chan. So there's nothing stopping another message board from popping up and hosting these people. I'm sure there are message boards worse than 8chan out there already. Like, the whole reason that 8chan exists is because these people were too shitty for 4chan. So I'm sure there's spin-offs of that, but it like, again, if you're not engaging with the ideology, then everything else is just window dressing. And the 8chan thing, the gun grab thing, the red flag bills, like, it's just you're doing things, but you're not really addressing the root problem. And until you are willing to get there, I don't know what all this is supposed to do. And another thing that I just remembered, of course, because the FBI is who they are, now they are pushing to have new domestic terrorism laws and to have white supremacists / white nationalists / whatever fall under these laws, which, I mean, last time I checked, killing people was illegal. Hurting people was illegal. Like, do we need extra special new laws to make this extra special more illegal? Or is it just the FBI trying to do another power grab and trying to get in on cases that they can't currently get in on because this is the FBI and they feel like they have to be involved in everything? So, yeah, no. But that is something that still remains to be seen. That's something that's still kind of in the air. I mean, of course, in this kind of environment, it's something that you always have to keep an eye on, because there are people that will back that, because mass shootings, my God, my body count, but y'all don't really give a shit about any of that when it comes to actually toning down your rhetoric or doing anything that might actually fix the problem. But people are real quick to use mass shootings and body counts as an excuse to push their own personal pet agendas, which is gross and vile and disgusting, and it happens every time there's a mass shooting. So that's just one more thing to keep an eye on. Like, I don't know how this is going to play out after these two, as far as like people trying to institute new gun laws. The red flag laws seem to be the thing that seems to be picking up the most steam, and I've got to read up a little more on them. I don't know if anybody has any like concrete proposals out there yet for what a red flag law would look like in practice. So I will find out some more information on that. But I'm basing gun ownership on mental health is just such a slippery slope. Like, I can see that being abused so badly, and it's going to disincentivize people from seeking mental health help. And there's been so much work done over the past 10 to 15 years of destigmatizing getting mental health assistance that I'm not okay with anything that's going to possibly stop somebody from seeking the help that they need because they're afraid of ending up in a federal database or having their rights taken away from them or being under some kind of government surveillance. Like, it's so bad. Like, no. But before we leave off, I do want to talk about the infamous Joaquin Castro tweet. And this goes back to the rhetoric argument and how people are not only not toning it down, they're ratcheting it up. And I want to go ahead and read the tweet to you verbatim, because it's really, I cannot fathom, after the events of this past weekend, anybody sitting down and writing this tweet and thinking, yep, that's a good idea, mash that tweet button. Here we go. Sad to see so many San Antonians as 2019 maximum donors to Donald Trump. The owner of Bill Miller Barbecue, owner of the historic Pearl, realtor Phyllis Browning, etc. Their contributions are fueling a campaign of hate that labels Hispanic immigrants as invaders. And then below that, he's attached a picture of a list of people with names, and obviously you have half of an address because you know they live in San Antonio, so you got full names. Some of these you actually have like employers listed. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, dude, after what just happened, you just made all of these people targets. And so many people have tried to defend this. And here's my thing. And let me explain to you why this defense is utter and complete bullshit. this whole idea that, well, it's public knowledge that who donated what to who, and why is that such a big deal that, he put it in a tweet like it's public knowledge. Okay, first of all, there's a big difference between something just being benignly public knowledge in a database somewhere out there in the ether, and another thing to take information and shove it in hundreds of thousands of people's faces. That's a huge fucking difference. Like, nobody knew who the hell these people were or that they max donated to Trump before they saw this tweet. That is the difference. The second thing is people saying, well, this isn't doxing. Let me tell you, this is how you start to dox a person. If you have a full name and an employer and part of an address, you can find out the rest of the information you want to know pretty damn quick on the internet. So let's not sit here and pretend like just because you personally or Joaquin Castro personally didn't put names and addresses and phone numbers on the internet that he didn't dox these people. This is doxing. This is given enough information to where somebody could, if they wanted to, go find these people and go show up on their doorstep, or show up on their employer's doorstep, or harass them over the phone, or harass them via the mail. And this is shit that happens. Like, this isn't made up. This isn't me, like, positing hypothetical things that could have happened to these people. This is stuff that has actually happened to people who have been doxxed. So it's just the most insanely irresponsible thing of life to even make this tweet, and then for people to turn around and defend it. After at least we know El Paso was motivated by political rhetoric. You really want to put people out there like that? Like, that's insane. What the fuck is wrong with you? You need to stop and think before you do shit now. And for what it's worth, plenty of news outlets actually did find these people based off of the information in this tweet and contacted them for interviews, which proves my point that there was enough there that if some wackadoo wanted to go show up on these people's doorstep, and by the way, there was an incident this past weekend where somebody showed up on Mitch McConnell's doorstep in his front lawn, wandering around filming it on, I don't remember if it was Twitter Live or Periscope or something, but she was like walking around on his front lawn talking about how somebody needs to stab this motherfucker in the heart already. Like, this is shit that's real and is happening to people. I cannot fathom oh my God. But again, this is what I mean when people are doubling down on their rhetoric. Like, you don't give a shit that you could have just got these people hurt or killed or harassed or even just having your name out there. Like, just because you would have a problem with this, it's not necessarily that you have a problem with people knowing that you donated to Trump. It's the fact that all of a sudden your name is like out there and like hundreds of thousands of people know your name now. Like, you shouldn't have to worry about that if you want to donate to a political candidate. Like, it's just, it's so insane, and it's going to keep happening. And it's just, oh my God, like, stop it, people. Like, stop and think before you tweet this stuff. You could have gotten somebody really hurt. And he still wanted to double down on it. But wait, there's more, because this story ain't done yet. As of this recording, it has been learned that 6 of the people on that list who are max donors to Trump also donated to either Joaquin or Juan Castro's campaigns over the years, which Joaquin Castro is Julio Castro, excuse me, not Juan Castro, Julio Castro, the guy that is actually running for president. Yeah, Joaquin is his twin brother and is actually the person running his presidential campaign, which that's a whole nother wrinkle. This is being done by somebody running a presidential campaign. You gotta stop and think, dude. Like, great, now you just fucked your brother too. Now both of you look like assholes because you wanted to sit here and double down when people called you out on it. Instead of just apologizing for the tweet and deleting it, he defended it. He doubled down. He said, well, I don't see what the problem is. It's public information, and what's the big fucking deal? Well, it is a big fucking deal. Like, that doesn't mean that these people want their information all on blast. And the whole point of it is it's basically a veiled threat. It's a veiled threat to the people on this list, and it's a veiled threat to anybody else who might want to donate to Trump that, hey, you know, if you do this, we might put your information all over the damn internet, and then God knows what will happen to you. It's sick. Like, don't do that. Like, oh. Anyway, so this has managed to backfire horribly for Castro, which good. It deserved to. You shouldn't have did that shit in the first place. It's fucked up. So now, we shall see what ends up happening, but of course the people that were put on the list who donated to the Castro brothers are pissed, obviously, as they should be, and I imagine everybody else on the list is pretty pissed off too, even if they didn't donate to Castro. And it's just like, why? Like, good job. Now, good job. Good job proving that you genuinely learned nothing from this past weekend. To everybody who has doubled down on their rhetoric, good job, team. Way to learn nothing. So, that is all that there is to report on today. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. And as always, if you did make it this far, thank you. And if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Take care, and until next time.